Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're looking over the most challenging games that fit into the Souls genre that made their debut post-2020. Keep in mind, we're including both Soulslikes as well as IPs released by FromSoftware themselves.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Another crab's treasure.
Death will be gorgeous!
Arguably the funniest Souls-like of all time, this game is equal parts comedy, environmental warning, and balls to the wall gauntlet as you, a lone crab, smash your way through the terrors of the deep as you endeavour to recover your shell, encountering a menagerie of crazy aquatic bosses along the way. The way offense and defense are intermingled by switching shells, combined with the relentless attacks of the residents of the sands between, ensure you'll be kept on your crab's legs throughout your playthrough. Or you could just use game journalist mode to turn your shell into a handgun. Mortal Shell. While certainly a tad rockier and less refined than others in the genre, what Mortal Shell brought to the table was a unique mechanic that allowed the player to switch between 4 playstyles, depending on which shell you chose for yourself. They each differ in speed, strength, and weapon type, but what they all have in common is the ability to harden, which, when correctly implemented, can act as a life-saving counter. When going up against the swaths of enemies that will try to tear you to pieces until you're left as a vulnerable empty vessel. Hopefully they'll double down on the game's strengths for the upcoming sequel, so Mortal Shell can stand toe to toe with its contemporaries moving forward. Elden Ring. While it's the most approachable game that FromSoftware has made to date, don't get it into your head that your time as the Tarnished will be filled with anything but pain. The Lands Between is host to some of the darkest and most enchanting enemies you'll encounter in a fantasy game, and unless you've got a stacked build or you're an innate master, you'll still find yourself bested at every turn. Yes, the option to flee, power up and acquire stronger gear does mean it is way more forgiving than the likes of Dark Souls or Bloodborne. That being said, this game also introduced us to Melania and promised consort Radahn, arguably the hardest bosses of the decade so far. So yeah, don't be under any illusion, a FromSoftware game is still a FromSoftware game. Black Myth Wukong. He may be the destined one, but the only thing you're destined to do is fail continuously as you endeavour to retrace the steps of the legendary monkey god. Foregoing parrying and blocking, the only way you're going to overcome these legends of Eastern mythology is by being light on your feet and heavy with your swings. Even with the Monkey Warrior's various transformations, spells, stances, and monumental array of armor, it's all too easy to be overwhelmed by the sheer variety of enemies waiting in the wings. Even accruing the power of literal deities won't prepare you for some of the smackdowns that are sure to follow, as boss after boss unleashes attacks that are as unpredictable as they are hard-hitting. Demon Souls. The precursor to all Souls games, while introducing many of the aspects that would allow the genre to thrive, is not exactly the smoothest experience, given that it was developed decades ago. The jank is indeed strong with this one, which was why it was such a welcome relief when Bluepoint came along to craft a remake that brought the game's core elements into the modern gaming era. The jank may have been scrubbed off, but the difficulty of braving a whole kingdom filled with monsters and madmen remains wholly prevalent. Even if the game plays buttery smooth, no one walks away from their first encounter with the Man-Eater and the Flame Lurker in one piece. Wukong, Fallen Dynasty. Honestly, if you're looking for a challenge in your games and you're just not in the mood for the technical finery of a FromSoft game, you can't go wrong with Team Ninja, and Wukong is one of their most demanding forays into action RPGs yet. It did make headlines after all for having a tutorial boss that precious few were able to best. Heroes, villains, and monsters of Chinese mythology are all laid bare for you to challenge, with combat that manages to be both chaotic yet precise, that will demand you play by its rules, or be forced to watch in silent suffering as your genuine ki is constantly snatched away. Nine Souls. Blazing onto the scene with gorgeous visuals and difficulty spikes so immense it'll give you whiplash. This action platformer took the artistic elements of Hollow Knight and the ruthlessness of Souls games, all told through the lens of the newfound and suitably named Tau-Punk genre. Parrying is king here, not that the game will make it easy for you. Hitboxes are unforgiving, while the movesets of the Council become more convoluted and quick-paced as the game goes on. A gem of a Metroidvania and another example of indie excellence, just don't expect any mercy throughout. Lies of P. It's the closest thing we're going to get to a Bloodborne sequel, and that goes for the difficulty too. Putting a twist on the classic Pinocchio tale, now filled with way more murderous robotic puppets, you'll have no shortage of weaponry on hand as you fight your way through Krat. But that won't count for much unless you nail those perfect parries. Every boss is a literal killing machine. Their attacks are relentless, and unless you know how to stagger and exploit, there's every chance they'll turn you into scrap metal before you can unload with that fancy new arsenal of yours. That's on the regular difficulty, of course. For those of you that want to feel like an untouchable puppet god, the newly introduced easier modes make the game far more approachable. The first Berserker, Kazan. An anime-esque Souls-like that is truly unforgiving in nature. Just because you're a walking ball of rage and fury doesn't mean the monsters of this world can't hand you your ass on a platter. Kazan may be no slouch in combat, but thanks to the lethality of regular enemies when in droves, not to mention how unrelenting yet mechanically complex the bosses are, the first Berserker easily established itself as one of the most demanding new Souls-likes on the block. Even its easier difficulty feels like you've just gone down one weight class. You're still gonna get massacred either way. Nioh 2. As Team Ninja's flagship franchise, the Nioh games are the epitome of punishing. And until we see what the threequel throws our way, Nioh 2 stands at the pinnacle, easily matching the patient pain of any Soulsborne title with an unfathomable amount of frenzy. Managing your stamina, mastering the key pulse mechanic, and knowing when to go all out are crucial. And if you fall short in any department, then the early game can feel damn near impossible. It's a beast all its own, incredibly rewarding for those who are able to grasp it. But even then, the bosses will still find a way to chew up and spit out even the most determined of players. Enter at your own peril. Which of these Soulslikes broke you? Let us know in the comments.
Forward to us. To I, Nicola, and my promised consort, Radahn.